Alright folks, and welcome to the next video. This video is going to be based on the game Trine 3. I bought Trine 3 as it's in early access about a week and a half ago. I was meant to do a live stream with Joker Productions, and however due to commitments I didn't actually fulfill my end of the bargain, and I apologise for that. But within the week and a half I got to play everything that Trine 3 has had to offer, with the likes of all the levels that Frozen Byte have added and the user created content. So with the likes of the Trine series, I happened to play the first game just after I built my gaming computer. I mentioned it in my very first video on my channel as being one of the top games to play when you first get into PC gaming. You can check the video up in the top left hand corner. So I'm just going to show you a bit of gameplay that I've captured with NVIDIA Shadowplay at 60 frames per second of Trine 3, and just to show off how beautiful the game actually is. I just have to say, with Trine 3, the game is absolutely beautiful. There is some epic landscapes. There's absolutely beautiful colours used in the game. The colour palette is fantastic. There's nice animations, and the game plays fairly fluid at the minute. Although it is in early access, there is going to be some bugs expected because Frozen Byte haven't released the full game yet. Now, for the likes of certain bugs, I've found with the likes of moving certain objects in the game, I have found that animation to be a little bit buggy, especially playing as Pontius, the knight character in the game. However, aside from this little glitch or bug that I've found with the moving of certain objects, I do have to say that the game actually runs very, very well. The only other gameplay glitch that I could find in the game was with the character Zoya, the thief. For example, there's certain puzzles in the game where she can essentially shoot and attach her arrows to, and then you can tie one end of the rope going away from the arrow to another source. However, as you have shot your arrow and attached it to a certain point in the map, you can lengthen and shorten the size of the rope attached to the arrow, and certain parts of the game where you're attaching your arrow to a certain thing and you're pulling it towards you, if you lengthen or shorten the rope too quickly, you find your character flies away or flies closer to the particular object. This is a physics-based thing that I hope they do sort out in the final version of the game, because more often than not, I found myself where I was doing certain puzzles in the game, the character was essentially going off ledges, and because I had accidentally pressed the left click, it automatically got rid of the arrow that I had shot, and it ended up my character falling consequently down and dying in the game, which was an unpleasant experience. But at the end of the day, when you're playing Trine single player, you do expect to die, because you know some of the puzzles are absolutely head-wrecking, to say the least. So one thing I really have to praise Trine 3 and Frozen Byte for is that with the likes of Trine 1 and Trine 2 in comparison, the wizard character was actually the best to play as, and more often than not, the wizard character was the most played of all three characters, and the other two didn't really get a look in, as you didn't really need to play as them. I find that with Trine 3, Frozen Byte have tried really hard to make the puzzles suitable to all characters, so that you feel you're constantly cycling between all three characters and you're not particularly sticking with one character. There's also new upgrades to each of the characters added in Trine 3. With the likes of me playing Trine 1 and Trine 2 and then going to Trine 3, which has 3D elements, I do have to say it was a bit weird at first. More often than not, I found myself moving in a horizontal direction and not moving in a vertical kind of direction on the other axis, because I kept thinking that the game was 2D when it actually wasn't. This 3D implementation will be strange for other Trine players, but you will eventually get used to it. I do have to say, as far as the control scheme goes, it is a bit different from the other two games, and I can definitely see that with getting used to it, it will definitely be better in the long run. One thing I do absolutely hate about the control schematic is with the wizard character, when you're levitating an object, you have the options to move it closer and away from you with the Q and E keys on the keyboard. I found that this actually would have been better swapped around and not the way that the game has actually implied it. That is the only criticism I can give for the control schematic in the game. Aside from this, turning the anti-aliasing to like a middle level and having everything else maxed out, I am getting 100 frames basically all the time, and it barely dips. I'm running a GTX 970 Zotac Amp Omega for anybody that wants to know. The performance of the game is great. It runs very fluid. I've captured a lot of... I do have to say, with Trine 3 and the other Trine games, I've never actually got round to playing them co-op. So with the likes of me playing them single player, some of the puzzles have been very demanding and challenging, but I've always managed to get through them. Trine 3 is exactly like the first two, where it doesn't hold your hand, and you will find some puzzles will absolutely rack your brain, and you'll be sitting there for ages trying to work it out, but you will eventually come to a solution. The levels included in the early access for Trine 3, there's about 4 levels all in all that Frozen Byte have added, and then there is user created content. With the likes of the last patch there that came yesterday, they've put in user created content, a particular type of theme park. However, you know, although I am very glad that Trine has brought on board user created content, because it's so early in the development of the game, you know, it has been a bit buggy with people making their own maps, and like the textures and stuff and assets for the maps aren't particularly great. But the thing is, with having this user created content, once the kinks have been ironed out with the gameplay elements, then it's definitely going to add more to the lifespan of Trine. There's games like the likes of Portal 2 where the lifespan is just basically endless because of all the user created content if you really enjoy the game, and Trine will be the same once everything has been ironed out. I picked up the game on early access for about £15. Now, I don't know exactly what Trine retails at when it normally comes out. I think it's £30. However, I felt it would be a good investment to buy it in early access because, you know, I'm going to be saving money in the long run, and I'm very glad I did. For the likes of the 4 levels that were there, I spent a good couple of hours playing the game, and I definitely feel satisfied with my money thus far. One thing I do have to note, however, is although I've played Trine 1 and 2, I still don't understand why Frozen Byte have released Trine 3 in early access. Frozen Byte have a good reputation for putting out good, polished PC games at launch. So the idea of Trine 3 going to early access is kind of strange to me. But like I said before, I'm very happy with my purchase, and I do have to say the game is running really well thus far. So what did I think of Trine 3? Well, I have to say, with it being in early access, I'm very impressed. It happens to be the first game that I've played in early access, so this is fairly new to me. Looking online, I've seen that it's been held in high regard as one of the best early access titles. I would have to agree with this because the game, you know, I never found there to be too many bugs or bugs that really frustrated me. I was able to play it in its entirety, and I found myself pretty hooked it once I had started playing for a while. So I'm very anxiously awaiting the release of Trine 3. If you've played any other Trine games, or if you've played Trine 3 in early access, please make a comment in the comment section below and tell me what you think, or tell me what Trine needs to improve on, or what you would like to see coming up to the initial release of the game. So that's going to wrap up my video, folks, on the Trine 3 early access review. If you enjoyed the video, throw a like on it. If you really enjoyed my content, please subscribe to me. It helps out my channel an awful lot. You can follow me anytime at Twitter and Facebook at For The Banter NI. Until next time, my friends, goodbye.